Have you ever crafted what you thought was the brand message for your brand, felt great about it at the moment, and then by the next morning, you were questioning everything and you were back basically to the drawing board? You were tweaking words, rewriting the whole thing, feeling like it doesn't fully represent your full vision. If that's you, I got you. This episode is going to give you the direction that you need.
Do you want to be seen as the go-to in your industry, get more sales, easily attract new opportunities, but feel overlooked online? If so, you are in the right place. Hey, I'm Eugenia, but you can call me E. I'm a marketing strategist, a wife, and a new mom. I learned the secret of how to be seen as an authority and have people think of you for new opportunities and more clients. If you're ready to get clear on what makes your personal brand unique, build a magnetic presence online, and get more eyes on your business, this is your next move.
When I first started doing brand positioning audits, I saw this repeated pattern. We would get super crystal clear on the message that the person was going to own, and they were super excited after the session, like so much clarity. And then they would message me 2 days later, or worse, I would see it on their social media, that they had changed their mind. They had gone back to what they were doing before. And I got so curious as to why was that happening. And I realized that they were missing a very, very important step before defining their brand message. And maybe you are second guessing. Most people assume that they're second guessing because they need to niche better, which if you do, please go listen to the previous episode. Before this one, we talked about clarity on your niche. Or they think that the message isn't good enough. Like, oh, it still needs more. It needs more, it needs more. And then you end up with a whole dissertation and that's not supposed to be your messaging. Or they haven't found the perfect words. Or maybe they're not confident enough. So it's like, let me refine. And that's just used as an excuse to not doing the actual thing. Or, which is kind of like summarizing all of the points combined in one, is like, I love this message. I love what we discussed in the call. It made so much sense, but it feels like it doesn't fully represent the vision. I think the problem is me. It's me that I don't know how to communicate the vision. Let me tweak this message until it clearly communicates my vision. And all of these feelings show that externally, we might have clarity. Like you might work either with me in a brand positioning audit, or maybe you work with someone specifically on your messaging and the words around your brand. But internally, you are rejecting what you created. Like you put money on a problem, but there was an internal issue that is making you reject what you create. So if you're going through this, here's what's actually happening. You are trying to build a message without knowing the foundation it needs to stand on. Because if you don't know who you are, if you don't know what you value, if you don't know what you stand for, if you don't know what you believe about your work, then any message is going to feel uncertain. And this comes a lot from creatives that have the good student syndrome, because they want to do things the right way. Maybe we've been told by the world that the way we process information is too scattered, is not good enough, we are not going to be successful, blah, 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 blah. So we want to check the boxes. We want to do the right thing. We want to be correct. But because what we are deciding isn't rooted in our identity, isn't rooted in our vision, it's just rooted on, okay, let me get a strategist to help me make this correct. If that's the way you're approaching it, you're never going to feel convicted enough and good enough about what you're doing. And that means that your message isn't wrong. Doesn't mean that you wasted your time or that those professionals you've hired weren't good enough. It just means that messaging is not anchored in something real for you. Because a message you don't believe in gets rewritten constantly. But a message that's rooted in who you are, it becomes stable. It goes with you, no matter the season of your life, of your business. And trust me, I'm living it right now in this season of motherhood, and it is so refreshing. So how can we reframe it. How can we really stop second guessing it? Okay, before we go deeper into the training, if you're listening to this episode and realizing like, okay, I've been talking about my business without actually having the clarity underneath my business, I made something free for you that you're going to love. It's called the Obvious Choice Builder, and it's a guided clarity kit that helps you finally articulate who you are, what you do, why people should trust you, and all of that without sounding generic. And there's some ChatGPT support there, but you're not going to sound like ChatGPT wrote your thing for you, which is the best. So if your message feels shaky, or if you feel like you keep rewriting your bio or your intro, this is the best place to start. Because as we said here, it's going to start at the identity level. So download it for free at clearbiobuilder.com. The link is in the show notes. Okay, now back to the episode. So how do you fix this? First, understand that your outer or forward-facing marketing is never going to represent the totality of your internal vision. Your forward-facing marketing, your forward-facing messaging, it's an entry point. It's a little light in the sky telling your perfect person that there's something here for you. Like they're completely in the dark, you're shining a light and you're saying, hey, this can help you. That's all your forward-facing messaging is going to do. It's never going, or it's not meant to represent the totality of the transformation you provide or the totality of your business. And I'm going to make a separate whole episode on this because I think it's important that we understand it. I want you to take that with you. This brand message that's forward-facing is not meant to represent the totality of your internal vision. And then at the same time, we need to take these things that sound like a contradiction, but at the same time, your message should be a reflection. It should not be an invention. And holding those two truths at the same time, it was going to make a potent brand message that you don't need to second guess anymore. Because you shouldn't have to think up your message. It should feel like naming something or giving structure to something that already exists within you. Of course, in the service of someone else. And that's where I say that your external, like your forward-facing marketing is not about communicating your whole vision in one sentence. Like that's never going to happen. But the place it comes from, it cannot be just external. It has to come from you. And this is something that I do with my clients whenever we do brand positioning audits or we work in seen and sought after or longer term coaching. Whatever we do, I usually do a brand narrative map. And that comes before your messaging because that connects your identity with your messaging and what you are saying. So instead of trying to wordsmith a message into existence, you need to ask yourself, would I still say it if nobody were watching? Number 2, am I saying this because I think this is the right answer? This is going to take us back to, do we want to be the good, correct, creative? And number 3, does this represent what I deeply believe about my work? And that is so important because if you don't believe this to be true about your work, nothing is going to work. You're going to keep second guessing it. That doesn't mean that we have to make some mindset shift. As I said, your external facing marketing is never going to communicate the whole vision of your internal brand and your everything is not going to be communicated in one sentence. But if you don't believe that's true, you're not going to stop second guessing it. So you need to always ask yourself, do I believe this to be true? If the answer is no to any of these 3 questions, this is not a 2 out of 3 type of thing. No, if any of these questions, the answer is no, you were writing a message that was never aligned with you to begin with. Your message doesn't need to be perfect, don't get me wrong, but it does need to be true. And that truth is what's going to stop you from second guessing. Because when your message is anchored in your truth, when it's anchored and rooted in who you are, in your vision, in your beliefs, instead of who you're trying to impress or getting the homework right, you are going to stop the constant rewrite. Posting is going to feel easier. Your content's going to feel more natural. You're going to stop feeling like you have to over-explain things. You're going to attract people who genuinely resonate with what you have to say. You're going to feel more confident showing up. You're not going to have to hype yourself into consistency. That doesn't mean that you're not going to have hard times, of course. There are times when we just don't want to do the thing. We don't want to write the podcast or record the podcast or make the post. And that's not what I'm talking about. But when it's a pattern, when it's like, oh, I don't want to do this. I've been not liking this for 3 months. Something is not right. Like something is not feeling true to us. And yes, of course, you, as a consequence of being rooted and having your brand message being rooted in something that's true, you're going to start getting more sales. You're going to feel so good doing it also. So in other words, you stop second guessing because you finally trust what you are saying. That clarity isn't coming from the right words, like a copywriter gave them to you. That clarity and that confidence in your message is coming from you. So focus on that truth, that vision. It is God-given for a reason. So uncover that, and that's what's going to stop making you second guess every brand message you decide on. And if you're listening and thinking, okay, I think I've been building my message from the outside in, you're not alone. Most creatives are trying to talk about their work before they've created the foundation for it. If you want to help getting clear on the identity behind your message, and that's the part that makes everything feel rooted and confident, please send me a DM on Instagram. My handle is @eugenia.woo. That's @EUGENIA.WOO. And I can share what working together could look like. I want to make it super simple and super digestible to you. And if nothing else, let this be your reminder. Stop trying to perfect your message and start building the foundation that's going to make it undeniable for you because it's true. That's where your confidence begins, and that's when to sustain your whole business. Think about that. Send me a DM, and I see you very soon. Un beso.
I hope you loved today's episode. If so, would you take 30 seconds and send it to someone who's ready to be seen as the go-to in their industry? Also, please leave a quick review for the show on Apple Podcasts. I love reading your comments. They remind me of those little notes you would send your friends in high school, you know? Okay, see you back here soon with the next episode. Un beso.